everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So today what I want to talk to you about is a family communication plan. This is not a complete guide to what to include in a family communication plan. This is really just some thoughts that I am kind of throwing down, on taking some of the stuff that I've learned from a law enforcement career and trying to figure out a way to apply it to a family so that in times of emergency, in times of disaster, in times of chaos, families may be able to get in touch with each other, a little bit easier. This is, like I said, take everything that I say here with a grain of salt and apply it to your situation the best that you can, because what I have here might not work for you, but maybe it'll spur some ideas for you. And if it does spur some ideas for you, then I would really appreciate it if you guys would throw those down in the comment section below. That way other folks can benefit from those ideas and stuff as well. So that would be really cool. The idea with a family comm plan, I wrote a blog post on this several years ago, and what that led me to do was kind of take some information and kind of laminate it onto some cards and then give that to each family member. And the reason we did this is because, nowadays everybody just stores everything in their cell phone, but if the cell phones aren't working, or if the batteries go dead, or the cell network is jammed like it typically is in a big emergency, then it doesn't do any good to have it in the cell phone. Having a card that you can reference is a really good idea. It just fits in your purse or in your wallet or whatever the case may be. You can stick it in the glove compartment of the kid's car or whatever. But having a physical thing that you can reference is probably pretty good. Some of this stuff might be written down on there, some of the stuff might not. Maybe it's something that you just have your kids commit to memory. But anyway, with that, I'll go ahead and just kind of go down the list of each of the items that I have written down here, and I'll try to give just a little bit of an explanation on what they are and why they're important. Some of them are going to be very obvious, and they're not going to really require much explanation, so I'll just kind of scroll over those. So with that, the first thing is straight on and profile pictures of each one of your family members. You could have these printed out and stuck in the car along with this card, and this is obviously useful if you're trying to find someone. You can say, hey, have you seen this person? Here's another picture of their side, that kind of thing. It just makes it a lot easier. Now, as an alternative, you could also just have those pictures on your cell phone. But again, batteries fail, and in times of emergency, it's just kind of nice to have something that's actually printed out. The next thing is all the important cell phone numbers. So your spouse's cell phone number, her work number, your spouse's vehicle license plate number, especially if you're trying to report information to the authorities or have it entered into a missing database or something like that. That's always a good idea. The other thing that you want to add in there is, who are your spouse's 2 or 3 closest friends? Make sure you've got their phone numbers, their cell numbers, and their home numbers as well, because they can then leverage the friendship network to help find your loved one if need be. The next thing is each of your children's cell phone numbers, if they have a cell phone. Also, if they drive, if they're old enough to drive, their vehicles, information as well, and their closest friends, as well. Nothing spreads faster than information on the millennial network. So I think that's a good idea. The next thing is look at your family friends. Look at the people that you guys associate with and kind of in your inner circle, and make sure that you've got all their contact numbers, their home addresses, their email addresses, all that kind of stuff. And you should add, obviously, your spouse's email address and your children's email addresses and stuff in there as well. Okay, so the next thing is your extended family, their home addresses, their cell phones, their cell numbers, and all that kind of thing as well. Those people can obviously be your first options, especially if they live, kind of spread out, but yet somewhat close. They can be good points of contact for if you have to bug out, or they could potentially be a rally point location, if they live close enough, something along those lines. Okay, so the next thing is you should pick out some rally points. And with rally points, this is going to be a highly dependent thing. There is a million different kinds of variables in this, so I can't really cover it all, but the general idea with a rally point is some location that is probably safe, that is probably that you can get in out of the weather or whatever, 24 hours or something like that. Ideally, it would have a payphone at the location, if at all possible. Not absolutely necessary. That's getting harder to find, but there are still a lot of payphones out there. And the way that I like to think about this is you use the PACE acronym. So you have your primary, your alternate, your contingency, and your emergency. And so the primary one is going to be fairly close to your house. It's going to be something within walking distance, maybe a block or so away, or something like that. And that one, again, this is going to be very, very dependent. Maybe it's just a neighbor's house that you know very, very well. Maybe it's a relative's house. Potentially it could be like a Walgreens or something that's just down the street, maybe. Obviously, if you live in a more rural area, then you're going to have to, use the oak tree or something like that that's just down the road, but apply as necessary. Then when you move to the alternate, you go a little bit further out. This is basically in case it's more of a bigger disaster, like if it's a big tornado or something, and it affected your whole neighborhood. Then you want to have something obviously just outside that zone. As you move to the contingency, maybe you're looking a couple of miles outside of that zone. This would be a place that's very familiar to all the family members, something that would be fairly easy to find along major roadways or something like that. And then you get to the emergency one, and that is maybe there's something that's happened at the city level and you need to go to a city nearby. Maybe it could be a post office or something along those lines. It's basically just a place to meet, after something happened, if you got split up and all that kind of stuff. You obviously would want to go ahead and set some meeting times for these things. And again, it all just kind of depends on the age of your kids and all that kind of stuff. Younger kids, this is obviously not going to be very applicable for, but for older kids, it could be very applicable. So it just depends. So go over the rally point times. Maybe you're going to say you're going to try to meet at them on 12, 3, 6, and 9, or something like that. You just kind of have to come up with the best plan for what you think for your situation. If you provide your children with like a CB or an FRS or a GMRS type radio, in their vehicle or something along those lines, then you want to go ahead and pre-establish what channels you're going to do that with and what times that you're going to come up on the radios as well. Or if they have ham radios or whatever the case may be. But the CBs and FRSs and those kind of things, even though they only may have a mile or so range, if you get to a good high location and a 1 mile distance can cover a pretty considerable area, and that can help really reduce the proximity that you need to be able to communicate, even if cell phones aren't working. Obviously, if cell phones are working, those are going to be the first thing that you're going to go to, but this is just an alternate. It's just basically it's a backup. Okay, you also want to kind of talk a little bit about a rally point communication signal. And essentially what that is maybe it's using a piece of chalk and putting an initial or something on the north side of the building, whatever building it may be. Maybe that's kind of behind everything and out of the way, so nobody would be erasing the signal or anything. You could come up with whatever you want, but leaving some sort of signal to let to let the other people know, hey, I was here. you know, and I'll be here again in the next meeting point or meeting time or whatever the case may be. I feel like I'm saying whatever the case may be a lot. Anyway, there's just a ton of variables in this, and really this whole thing is just to spur thought with you to help you develop a plan. I've got some other ideas for additional videos that I'll go into on this topic as well as soon as I can. So the next thing is a family duress word. You know, who knows? You could say it's Cherokee or something like that, you know. It could really be anything. The thing that you want to realize with a duress word is you don't want it to be a word that you're going to say often in regular conversation, okay? And what this would be used for is, let's say they're calling on the phone and they're being held hostage, then they could use this word in a sentence, and that would alert you to the fact that they're being held under duress and they're in an emergency situation. You can also plan a response word, and that would let them know that you heard the duress word without you actually saying it, because their captors could be listening in or something like that. This is a pretty extreme situation, but it's kind of an easy thing to do, and you can practice it with your kids and stuff like that, and in regular, you know, exercises, so to speak, and it's a fairly easy thing to pick up on, and it's easy to remember too. It's just one thing. The next thing is a duress hand signal. And with a hand signal, this would be something that could be used in a situation where you're face to face with people, and maybe something's not right. Maybe your kids are acting funny. They seem very unusual. Their behavior's out of the normal or whatever. But you know, maybe they just pat on their, you know, left thigh or something like that, you know, with their left hand, or you know, who knows, maybe they rub their neck, you know, like this or something, and that could be a duress signal, and that would be letting you know that obviously that something's wrong, and that's why they're acting strange, or that there's a weird situation or something like that. The next thing, and the last thing on the list here, is essentially an emergency drop signal, and that is something that more likely the parent or a concealed weapon holder, somebody who is armed, a signal that they may give in case anyone was ever being held hostage. Now, the statistical chances of having your children held hostage are freaking tiny and minute, and maybe this is way over the top. I don't know. But if you have a particular signal that you could lay out, maybe, you know, you snap your fingers twice, or I don't know, whatever you want it to be, but that would let them know that as soon as they felt that they could do it, they would just drop straight down and you know, collapse on their own weight and basically go into a fetal position down on the floor, so that you could then engage the bad guy, the suspect, who was holding them hostage with your concealed weapon or something. Maybe that's a little too movie star-ish or whatever the case may be, but sometimes it's better to be prepared in these areas than not, because we just don't know what's going to happen. I think that stuff like this could even become could be altered, and could be even more important in a, you know, SHTF kind of situation, or a grid down situation, or a long slow slide where crime is becoming, you know, really rampant and all that kind of stuff. Stuff like this might be more important than it is right now today, but that's why I'm trying to get you guys to think about it, because then you can start morphing it and molding it into your own plan, and you'll have an idea of, you know, just some stuff to throw in there. So anyway, hopefully it has provoked some thought. If it did, then I would think it's really cool if you guys would share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. As always, I definitely appreciate the thumbs up button. If you guys are subscribed to the channel, then I definitely appreciate that. If you're new to the channel and you like videos on wilderness survival, disaster preparedness, you know, and that kind of thing, outdoor gear reviews, then go ahead and click the subscribe button. When you do that, go ahead and click the bell button right next to that, and that will send you an email each time we upload a new video. Well, guys, that is all that I have for today. As always, don't forget to live the 6 P's. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.